Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:07 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, 8:35, it's the WMAL debut of the one and only Kurt Schlichter, conservative raconteur. I'm Larry O'Connor, alongside Brian Wilson.
On the Newsmaker hotline right now is Byron York from the Washington Examiner. He's a guy who knows a lot about American politics. And you know what, Byron? It looks like we are going to have some kind of discussion and some kind of debate in the coming days on immigration reform. I'm concerned that the Democrats will want to do the things that feel good, but won't do the things that are actually hard in this debate.
Well, we're certainly going to have that debate. You're right about that. Not clear whether there's going to be some action. And I think there's two issues. I think the issue between the Republicans and the Democrats on this is going to be the whole issue of enforcement and timing, with Republicans insisting on stronger enforcement measures and a longer period of time before any illegal immigrant ultimately is on a path to citizenship. Democrats wanting to shorten that. But I think Republicans have a huge problem, and that is with this idea of first-day legality, where under their proposal, and none of this has been written into a bill yet, but under their proposal, people who are here illegally on the first day would become legal in a probationary way, but they would become legal, and a lot of critics believe once that happens, that legality is never going to be taken away.
So how's this debate going to shake out? You say you're not sure anything will actually happen. It's because these are very difficult issues.
Yeah, well, there's two debates. There's the debates among Republicans, and then the debate with the Democrats. And both of those have to, be settled for something to actually happen. I mean, you heard, even before the president spoke in Las Vegas yesterday, you heard Marco Rubio and some key members of his staff saying, well, this enforcement stuff could be a deal killer. I mean, and so Rubio knows. I mean, these Republicans are sticking their neck out about immigration. And the reason it failed the last time was because that people did not trust them when they said they were really, really, really going to enforce the border and enforce security with illegal immigrants. They know they face that distrust. And so anytime the president asks them to compromise on security, they're going to probably say no.
Yeah, and you mentioned Senator Rubio and the fact that they're sticking their necks out. I mean, Senator Rubio is seen as such a rising star in the Republican Party. Many people think that he has a real potential bid for the White House in his future. How far out on a limb is he on this, a very controversial subject, as you say, within the Republican Party itself?
The question is, how much have Republicans changed because of getting trounced in 2012, in part because they won such a small portion of the Hispanic vote? I mean, that is the question, because go back to 2006, 2007, when George W. Bush was pushing this, John McCain was pushing it. I remember riding around Iowa with McCain on a campaign trip in November 2007, and you may remember his campaign had run out of money and kind of imploded, and he said, oh, no, that wasn't the problem. The problem was immigration. I almost died because of immigration. And McCain took to going to campaign events and saying, secure the border first.
Yeah.
And he said that a million times, and remember he even made that commercial.
Yeah, build the damn fence.
I believe he said dang.
Dang, sorry.
Fence.
All right.
And so, I mean, McCain kind of learned a lesson there, and but then he comes out the other day in the Senate, and he says, well, this plan we're proposing is very, very similar to the one that Ted Kennedy and I did.
Oh, boy.
So
that's a way to kill it.
McCain hasn't changed. Have the Republican Party changed, and people who opposed it then, are they not going to support it now? That's not clear.
But, Byron, you mentioned the last time we went down this road in 1986 when Ronald Reagan finally agreed to the one-time amnesty, but this is it. We're really going to close the door now. We're really going to build the fence, and we're really going to secure the border. The difference here now is, and this is why it's fascinating to me, it hasn't been brought up in this debate, is this is the post-9/11 world. Securing that border has much more significant ramifications than just, a nanny or some gardeners coming across the border. Why is the terrorist threat not being mentioned much in this debate?
No, that's a great point, because obviously an unsecured southern border especially, it's not just Mexicans or Central Americans are coming through that. There's no reason one couldn't come from, say, Pakistan and go through that Mexican border. So you're right, it's more of an issue. I think it will emerge as one in the course of this debate. But I mean, the fact is that the of the 11 million who are here illegally, the largest single group is from Mexico, and that's the biggest issue here, and it has a lot of workplace ramifications and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to continue to dominate the debate.
We're beginning to hear more and more about an investigation that is swirling around Senator Menendez. I mean, and the talking points on this are pretty sensational, that he went to the Dominican Republic and was involved in these incredible parties that were filled with underage prostitutes. We know that the FBI is conducting some level of investigation. The question is there anything to it? What's your sense of this story?
Well, I can't speak to the facts of this story. You're right, the allegations are sensational, and I went to the Senate the other day for the news conference, and Menendez was there. There were 5 senators there, 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and he spoke as much as anybody else, and he delivered a long part of his address in Spanish. And I mean, he took a really prominent role, and I'm thinking, he's one question away from a very embarrassing situation. That question was not asked at the news conference, but it was asked later that day. And now we have these stories, this story about the FBI raiding this office in West Palm Beach of this doctor who might have been involved in some of this stuff. So, going back to our today's topic, I wonder how prominent a role. I mean, this is a gang of 8. There are just 4 Democrats in it, and he's one of them. I wonder how prominent a role he's going to continue to play in this, because when he goes out, he faces the risk of being asked about this.
Yeah, he could very well end up being a distraction. Also, with regard to the border security and the Fast and Furious story that is still simmering there, could these two issues conflate? I'm trying to come up with various political angles that Republicans might bring up to the floor to try to, add to this discussion. Do you hear from any of the senators or congressmen that they're going to bring Fast and Furious up when they talk about border security?
I think the bigger issue will be the general Obama administration enforcement of border security. And the fact, for example, that the administration sued the state of Arizona for the state of Arizona's attempt to enforce federal law. The point of the Obama administration being basically the federal government is the one that has the sole authority to enforce these laws. And by the way, we're not going to.
Yeah, or not enforce those
exactly.
laws. Yeah.
And so you heard Senator Sessions, within minutes of the Gang of 8 news conference on Monday, Senator Sessions was on the floor of the Senate saying, we shouldn't do this until the Obama administration first enforces the immigration laws that we have. I think you'll hear that a lot from senators who oppose this deal.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Byron, good to have you always.
Thanks, guys. Always good to be here.